Hi everyone, I'm Pablo Galarza with Century 21,
And I'm Hector Galarza.
and we are part of the Galarza team, and we strategize mostly on rehabs. We've been rehabbing since 2005. We shut down for a little bit in 2007. Of course, the market crashed. Restarted back up in 2010. I think we've done about 30 projects since then. And the reason we wanted to put this together was because there's no such thing as a foolproof plan, right? But there is an important thing about planning, about teamwork, about everybody does their part. I want to talk a little bit about what we do and trying to help people make sure that when you want to rehab or flip, that it doesn't become a flop, right? And I think that's an important thing. So Hector, a little bit right now, what are we doing now? Let's explain to our friends and colleagues, what do we do now as when we talk about rehabbers and flippers? What's your duties on that?
So my role is to look at what inventory do we currently have. What locations, what prime locations, the other locations that may be an opportunity. So I look at the inventory. One of the things I also look at is the quick turnaround. Now, you're looking for a quick turnaround, then you're looking at the prime locations, right? Now, prime locations come with a higher price point. So
Wait, when you say quick turnaround, what do you mean?
Like how quickly you want to, turn this around. Like you don't want to be too long, 3 months in the market. You want to be.
And what do you mean by that? Or like what? So when you say quick turnaround, the property cannot have more than a certain amount of budget. Hey, listen, this is the like when you buy one for 160 and you only put 40 in it, that's a quick turnaround.
That's a quick
versus
turnaround.
one that you buy for 35 and you have to put 160 because now it takes 3 months to finish or 4 months, right? I mean, I just want to get into explanation because you and I had that conversation where I get a little upset because you're like, dude, this is going to be 4 months. This guy's going to be here. You're like, hey, man, this is the only one we can find. There's nothing in the inventory. There's nothing going on. So we had moments in inventory where we don't find nothing. Like, hey, this one's 180. We can still turn around and do it 325. Great. That's going to be a turnaround in 1 month because it only needs 30 grand or 40 grand, right? Versus the ones that are like 40,000 and they need 4 months of work.
A little bigger price points with a smaller budget. Yeah, those are quick turnarounds. They're mostly cosmetic updates, and you can definitely get it back in the market within 30 to 45 days.
Let's talk about the starting steps of flipping. And then what is the biggest question you get from people that want to start flipping properties?
I mean, the biggest question is, can I do it? I want to look for a home that doesn't require a lot of work. I only have like $50,000 saved up. Can I finance a purchase? Small purchase, and the answer is no. I mean, banks normally don't finance anything that small. The home needs to be habitable, in habitable conditions. And most of these small purchases are not in habitable conditions. So,
there is a way, right? First of all, if you want to finance one, then we're financing something that's habitable.
Exactly.
So you're not going to buy a $35,000 home that's habitable, right? So you're going to be looking at 150, 160, and then if you have 50 grand cash that you can invest into it, if that's all it needs, then there is a possibility, but the property you get has to be
in habitable conditions.
Habitable conditions. Yeah. And what does that mean by habitable?
Well, you gotta have a functional kitchen. You gotta have a functional bathroom, and all the utilities need to be on.
So needs to be light, water.
And everything needs to be running. No holes in the roof. Windows intact. Yeah. All that needs to be in a working condition. So
it is possible, but to find it's like finding a needle in a haystack.
But the thing is, these buyers don't want. They rather not do a mortgage. Have
sellers.
Loan. Yeah, the buyers. They don't want to take out a mortgage loan.
Wow,
They want to see. Okay, what other steps do you recommend? I'm like,
okay. Well, let's simplify it. If you only have 50 grand, you're not going to be able to buy the house and fix it too.
Nope.
So if you only have 50 grand, then you got to finance a house. And if you want to finance a house, it has to be habitable. And then that way we're looking into something different. It's something very unique, which we still can find. We've done it a couple of times, so it's not against that. But you just have to have patience, right?
The next question I'll ask about, do you own your own home? And they do answer, they say, yes, I do own my home. So another option is, have you ever considered taking a line of credit out on your personal home? So you have 50 grand, you take out $100,000 line of credit, that's another option for you.
Okay, now you have 150, but now, what type of problem? We start looking at okay, now you can buy the cash purchases, right? Because those cannot be financed. You can close in 2 weeks. So it's different. I think you have to like kind of graduate into that level. If you're just starting on 50, getting a home equity line, and if you get 200 grand on your home equity line, great.
Right.
You're good to go.
Yeah.
Let's rock and roll. And then we come in and help you on the first project, second project. I mean, we'll help you throughout the whole thing, right? But the thing is, you have to start learning. They have to start. We're not going to go out there and start deciding what finishes they're going to have. They have to learn that.
You have to learn that. And the last option is obviously a renovation loan, right? The 203K loan. I mean, that's more complex for it's a first time.
Yeah, renovation. I'm not a fan of it. I want to be honest. I just there's so many red tapes behind that. Then you got to do the CMAs. Then you got to do.
It's more for your seasonal
stuff.
investors. It's not for somebody that's their first time doing it. So
it's not an easy task. I mean, you're going into. I don't like to get involved with them because then they want all kind of reports and then they charge points. And again, this is just my personal opinion. I'm like, I'd rather not do it. Because it's just too much red tape.
It does eat up on your profit at the end of the day. It eats up more.
And then you're competing with cash buyers, and you're competing with everything. And then you're going to come in with a renovation loan when you're like, you know what? I'm good.
Right.
I'm sorry. I want to make sure that we invest our time wisely and something's more realistic than trying to find that needle in a haystack. It's already hard as it is to find good property. Now we're going to find it with a renovation loan. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of it, and there's a lot of reasons behind it. And we'll talk about it more when we have our next session and our next class.
I mean, again, if you're a first-time rehabber, you want to try it for the first time, there are options for you. Again, if you own your own home, line of credit, and if you do have a little bit of cash on hand, it makes it easier. So you have at least those two to start with, and if not, the renovation loan will be your last option.
And we'll walk them through the rest of the way. So I taught you that. We kind of worked together on that. Say, hey, when you do comparable analysis on an ARV, which is future value depending on what they're going to do with it. So you come back, you look at it, you do the ARV, and then you turn around and say, hey, I think there's a good potential for rehab. What are you looking for in that ARV or in that CRM that's going to tell you if it's a good potential or not?
Well, I mean, I obviously look at the square footage of the home, right? I look at the area that's in. One of the things we want to look at is external obsolescence, right? Making sure there's no vacant lots, no abandoned buildings next to the home. You want to look at litter on the street. You don't want to look at none of that because obviously, a buyer.
It's Chicago, bro. I think they all have litter on the street.
Most of all,
What are your 3 factors that's most important on when you find a potential rehab? Like, what does it have to have in order to qualify to be a rehab?
At least minimum 3 bedrooms, right? Above ground level, at least.
Above ground or just total?
I will say above ground. Because you also have the potential, if it has a basement, you can add an additional 4th bedroom there. But I look at least have 3 bedrooms above ground.
Because we both know there's a big difference between 2+2s versus 3+1s, right?
There is a difference.
And what that means is 3 bedrooms on one floor. That means that your house is longer. It's 1,200 square feet versus a 2+2, which is 800 or 900 square feet, and now you have 2 below grade, have different demand, and that's a different demand, it's different value because it lasts longer in the market.
It looks more.
Anyway, but it accommodates 80% of the buyer market,
exactly.
right? 3 bedrooms. If you start going to 2, it's just newlyweds and 1 child.
Exactly.
Versus 3 when you got 2 or 3 children. I guess I wanted to just kind of hit that ground running. Hey, 3 bedrooms.
The sizes of the bedrooms too are huge. I mean. You definitely want to have something that's only like 8 by 8. You want to have
unless
a lot
you're in Pilsen or
that.
26th Street. I think that's pretty normal.
Closet space, it's got to have all that.
Yeah, the basement's important. How important is that basement for us?
Basement's important when you're hosting those parties. I mean, you want to have an open space. You want to have
the party. I'm talking about for finished square footage, though. Like when you got that. In-law arrangement.
Exactly.
You got the extra extended family. I think the parties is great. We proved that on many circumstances.
Especially in the wintertime. You can't be outside doing no kind of partying, but it helps with the square footage, obviously. But in-law arrangement is a huge plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back on track. So you do preliminary. You check for 3 bedroom. I know when we first started, brick was important, right? We didn't want to deal with frame house, but now it's changed a lot, right? It doesn't matter as long as you still have the square footage. Now, you got to take that demand into consideration, right?
So there's definitely more demand on the brick, having a brick home. to this day.
Versus frame, right?
Versus
And
frame.
why is that?
So it's composition, right? So if a frame home catches fire, most likely you can't salvage that. So a brick home still has an opportunity to salvage that.
So that's going to have more demand, right?
Right. So it's bigger, more demand. So
composition is one, and then I base frame was another one for me, which now it doesn't. I'm going to tell you because I know you do the checking, and then I double check on it, right? So you do the initial ARV, you analyze it, you put it under contract. Once it's under contract, I get to see it, and then I'm a little more delicate on some of these things.
On the floor plans, right?
Floor plans is one. So I'm looking more at demand, right? Because you're looking at ARV based on comparable analysis. I'm taking more into demand factors, which is the floor plan 2+2 versus 3+1. Does it have an attic? Does it have a garage?
It's a garage.
How many comparables have garage? How many don't? And then we'll have that argument. I think we run into that a lot because that's part of what the team does. We cannot we agree to disagree sometimes, but we'll look at these projects because if these projects don't work, then we won't work. I mean, that's just that simple, right?
That's the last thing you want to do is give a bad advice.
Overanalyze,
right?
Overanalyze and exaggerate numbers. We don't do that.
Exactly. You don't want to do that, or else you lose that client.
So you're out there, you're in the field, you're watching these, you're looking at new inventory pop up. You will have an idea what Auburn Gresham does. You have an idea with what Morgan Park would do versus what you're doing over there in Roseland and stuff like that. We do Garfield Ridge. So so then we talk about the neighborhoods, right? Like, hey, what is the demand factor? I mean, are you going to put dishwasher in 26th Street versus you're going to put it in Midway area? Why and why not? Right? There's a different target mix. There's a different culture, there's different demographics. Right. Some people need to have one thing, others don't. So we take that into consideration when setting budgets. And I think that's where I come in and kind of talk to the clients in more detail. Because that's what it is. It's a team effort where you begin with the access. You get an idea because you're on the floor.
Right.
You're like, hey, this is just popped up at $75,000. I just sold one 2 blocks down for $325,000. Has the same potential. Let's go look at it. Let's go. So you look at the people.
Another key factor to that too is always making sure. You try to provide as much information to the client. One of the ones information that's important is the violations. Are they open violations?
Yep.
How much is that going to extend the market time? Like, do you have to hire a plumber with license? Do you have to hire an electrician with license to take care of these violations?
Well, before we always tell every client. Every city, regardless of where it's at, is going to require permits for work that needs, a licensed tradesman. That's the choice they have. We don't chase someone down and make sure they do that. We let them know. They all know, hey, these jobs, you need a license. You need to get the permits. Now, whether they get them or not, that's definitely their choice, right? That's the risk of investing or doing rehab, right? Like, did you get the proper permits? Or are you going to go ahead and freelance and say, listen, I'm a tradesman. I did the work myself. I own it. So I could vouch that this work is good. I'll give you a home warranty. Do your inspection. Do your due diligence. And I'll guarantee you it's going to be a great job.
Yep.
Now, it doesn't mean that they still follow the rules of the game.
Oh, right.
That's not where we come in, right? We say, hey, these are the risk factors because
all we do is provide the information. Here it is. Here's what we're required to correct these issues. Now, it's up to you if you want to continue with this purchase or do you want to look somewhere else?
So in rehabbing and flipping, the risks are always there. Every investment has a risk. I mean, if I tell you, it's a foolproof plan, you rehab with us, you're not going to lose. No, that doesn't exist. There is possible. We learned. We've had it. We've run into it. I had one that lasted a year just to get it through because the city called us. They went online and caught the pictures. And then, hey, wait a minute, you did some repairs here. Like, what? We didn't expect that. When we talk about a team, your part is accessing the property, making sure the IRV is there, making sure that if they do what they said they're going to do, they're fine. The seller's job is to make sure the budget's there, that they get their permits if they want it, that they don't exceed the budget, they understand the ARV, they understand what they're investing into it, and that if they're going to get their proceeds like I told them they're going to get, they have to match those numbers. Yeah. And the quality of work that they do is important, right?
That's huge. Yeah. No short. If you want to sell it quickly, don't take any shortcuts.
How many times have we seen our clients get contractors? Oh, this guy, he's a family member, he's a friend, and then they don't show up for 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
That's where I was heading next. I said, if you're a first-time investor, Do you have a good contractor behind you? Do you have a good handyman behind you that knows, that does quality work? That's important, because if you don't have that,
Yeah.
don't even start. I mean, you're gonna have, you're gonna have to find.
No. Well, if they don't have that, we have that, right?
We have that, but I would say at least, don't start big. Start something small. Try out, first try out that contractor. Try it out first on a small project.
And these are for first-time starter rehabbers. And most of our rehabs, I think all of our rehabs, I think they're all general contractors. It's a toss. It's a toss. We hire them
They
to help
all know
us.
what they want, but you still have to give them all that information up front just to make sure they're making the right decision.
Right,
They might miss something. So that's what our role is there, to provide them, some insight.
We just hope that our rehabbers are doing everything by permit, that they're doing everything by the code. And then what we do is we re-inspect, we go out there and say, hey, this is a good job or it's a bad job, right? I think one of my clients said,
anything that's going to raise a red flag, we make sure we bring it up to the
I
attention.
think one of our clients said, like, I'm a little more scared of you coming through than the freaking city coming through, because they're like, hey, what did you do here? Why are you? Because I like what they do, what's going to reflect on us. All right, we're the agent selling that. We're selling not just one. We're trying to sell 3 or 4 per year per client. Yeah, that's why we.
Ultimately, at least 3 a year. Obviously an average of 3 months per flip. But ultimately, it's 3 a year for each of our clients.
It all depends. They're all different scenarios.
We both have to stay on top of the trends too, like color schemes. What are the people are looking at in the color scheme wise? What are they looking at countertop wise? So we have to stay on top of that, and we share that with our clients.
Right.
Making sure they use the right finishes to the rehab.
I agree. I mean, I think that the most important thing, I think the message here is there's a team behind this, and everybody has a part to do it to be a successful transaction. And not all of them are going to be as successful as others, but our goal is to make sure they're all successful one way or another. I'm like a doctor. I told you that. I'd rather give them a lower price and say, hey, this is where your comfort zone's at. Don't get, now when they finally finish and we put it for 15, 20 grand more, and then we sell it for that and they make that more, they're much more happier. Of
course.
But I want to be realistic. I want to, hey, we got to look at margin of error, economic changes.
I think something we do very well, is at least on your end, is you give it the worst case scenario. Okay, this is the worst case scenario. If we sell it for this much, this is going to be your spread.
Well, not worst case. Worst case scenario is you don't make money.
Right. Well,
that's the worst case scenario.
Obviously, they already have a mind on how much they're going to list it for, right? And we say, okay, no, well, worst case scenario, if we sell it for this much, this is your spread. So we put the expectations
the worst
out
case
there.
scenario is always on the seller, on the general contractor, right? Because if he takes the shortcuts, or he spends too much money and he didn't look at that budget, he doesn't know how to analyze a budget, then we got a problem, right? So we try to be clear with that. We're going to have more training sessions on that as we move forward, because we've been very successful, thank God, knock on wood, with our rehab projects, and our rehabbers are phenomenally.
I think they're more successful than I have been, or he has been.
well, I listen to this. I'm staying here with this. This is our investment now.
We'd rather have them be successful,
I've done so. When I've done them, I'm very rare. When I pick one of those, because I know it's almost a guarantee. You've seen that. Like, I won't touch it unless I know what I'm going to get.
I had one or two here that it really didn't. The spread wasn't there for me. But you learn. You live and learn.
But it's part of a learning strategy. I mean, you never lost, which is great. I mean, you wanted to make 60, you made 40, you made 30. Okay, it's still a win. But of course, rehabbing, we still have the most demanded product in real estate. Regardless what time of the year, you're always going to sell first before anybody else because it's all brand new. Everybody's always going to want a brand new home. We know that, and we try to make sure that the numbers we crunch are from experience, from 20 years of experience. That we know that, hey, if you do your part, and I do my part right, and that general contractor does his part, everything else will fall in. But it takes skills and knowledge and experience to get there. Now, we've seen mistakes.
Right.
Let's talk about those mistakes. What is the biggest mistake we see most of our rehabbers do?
It's the floor plan.
The floor plan is one. I think one of the, to me, what I think is when they over exceed the budgets. They're not checking their budgets, or they're just throwing stuff in, and they're like, I don't know, and then you ask them what the numbers are, and where are you at, and I don't know. You can't measure. If you don't know how to measure, you're gonna be in trouble, because you're gonna say, well, I only spent 40 grand, but they don't pay themselves for their job. You gotta pay yourself your client. So that's very important when we have to teach us, hey, you gotta pay yourself. If you're going to be working in there, time is money.
Yeah.
And if you're not accounting for that, no, I only paid 40 grand. But were you the roofer? Yeah. Were you the one that did this? Yeah. So who paid you? Well, no, I'm that's my house. Like, no, dude, you still have to make it. That's what we call double dipping.
And it's still, to this day, it's still kind of hard to tell, get them to do that.
Right, yeah. I mean, we still, but you know what? To me and you, we know how important that is.
Yeah.
You need an actual real budget, real time budget. Yeah. And the only way to do that is to work with a team that knows how to say, listen, you need to measure your time. How much you pay yourself an hour? If you're doing 40 hours a week, let's simplify that so that you can understand. Yeah, you're still making the money, but you have to report it differently on taxes. Taxes is another thing we have to talk about. How much are you gaining in capital gain versus
number 2 there, Dwayne. Because that's important too when you're rehabbing.
But I think we gave some great information now that kind of just shows what we do and what we can. That's just the beginning. Just scratch the surface.
It's the experience we've had all these years, and we've been obviously blessed to share that with our experiences with our clients.
And this is just scratching the surface. There's a lot more to talk about. Right. I mean, there are many different scenarios. So we will be opening some classes for agents, classes for the public, for our clients. If there's any questions, specific questions you guys want to see us address in podcasts, email us at thegalarzateam@gmail.com. Tell me what question you'd like to see us talk about when we come back to this one. We will have more of these later. This is just one, just kind of get an idea of what our clients or what our friends want to see us talk about. And then from there, we'll go into more detail as we move forward with different podcasts throughout the year. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you for joining us.
We want to hear from you soon, and we'll see you again in the next podcast. All right. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. All right.